to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the 2020 New York Giants schedule. The schedule has come out. We know who the New York Giants are going to be playing. We know when they're, where they're going to be playing. We don't know what order, and we don't know which games will be primetime games. But in this video, I'll go over how I would rank the schedule in terms of how hard it's going to be, and I'll try to predict which games I expect to be primetime games next season for the New York Giants. Now, the Giants probably won't get a ton of primetime games, being that they're coming off their third horrible season in a row, and they don't have a lot of big, superstars outside of Saquon Barkley on this football team right now. But we'll see. There's a couple of games, I think, in the schedule that could certainly be primetime games, and I think it'll be an interesting schedule for sure. A lot of people have pointed at the schedule, and they said that the Giants are playing this really tough schedule, but it's the same schedule everybody in the division plays outside of the two games, and I'll explain that as we get into the video. But let's take a look at the schedule. Let's jump into it, and let's take a look at the New York Giants 2020 opponents. So there's the schedule. And before I go over each individual game, let's also take into account we don't know what these teams are going to look like next year. I mean, we don't even know the New York Giants head coaches right now. We don't know all these, all the teams they play. We don't know who they're going to add in the draft, lose in free agency, gain in free agency, who the Giants are going to add. So right now, this is a lot of fun, but the NFL changes year to year out. The 49ers are a perfect example of that, and there's teams like that every year. But regardless, I think we could, gather, an estimate as to what will be very challenging games. The New York Giants, bad luck. They do play the NFC West, and you can make an argument that the NFC West might be the toughest division in football if the Seahawks come back to form that they did this year along with the 49ers. I also think the Rams are still a very good team, especially after the acquisition of Jalen Ramsey. I don't necessarily love their futures. They've mortgaged that, but I still think they'll be a good football team. And then on the AFC side, they play the North. Kind of a mixed bag there, but we'll jump into the schedule. We'll start with the home. Obviously, the divisional games I don't really got to go over. We know we play 3 home against the Division 3 on the road, 2 against the Eagles, Cowboys, and Redskins. And, we know about our division. It's not the best of divisions, but you could certainly say that the Eagles will probably rebound based on the fact that they had a lot of injuries. The Cowboys, we'll see who they bring in there at head coach. Maybe they keep Jason Garrett. Keep your fingers crossed, but I doubt it. But they still have a lot of talent over there, but they just haven't clicked this year. And the Redskins could be a much improved team. As I've said, I've liked the Ron Rivera hire. Dwayne Haskins year 2. He played very well his last 2 games of the year. Maybe he matured a bit. And they're probably going to get Chase Young. So they could be a much improved team for sure. I'm not 100% sure of their free agent situation. I think they had about $40 million in cap space last I checked. But I expect the Redskins to be a tougher team next year. And you can make the argument if the Eagles could stay healthy, they could rebound. But the thing is, they have a lot of injury-prone players. And the Cowboys, depending on which coach they bring in, could be a very talented team. Now, we'll start with the home schedule outside of those 3 teams. You've got the Arizona Cardinals, the San Francisco 49ers, the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Arizona Cardinals we played this year, and it was a game I thought we should have won. The Cardinals were traveling to New York. They'll be traveling to New York yet again. It's a game where they got to travel 3,000 miles. This is certainly a winnable game. I still don't think the Cardinals are a great team. Kyler Murray's been solid in his rookie year. Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray will have a second year to grow, and maybe they will. They still have a lot of holes on that offensive line, but they've shown signs here and there. They've won a couple of good games. I think they beat the Seahawks down the stretch. So it'll be a fun game. Yeah, the top 2 drafted quarterbacks from the 2019 draft class going at it again. Not a game that I would expect to see in prime time. Next game up, you got the San Francisco 49ers at home. So the advantage here, obviously, is they're traveling like the Cardinals all the way across the country. But the Niners, of course, will be a very good team next year by all accounts. They still have a very strong defense that will probably only be getting better with experience. They have a lot of young players on that team. I really like their head coach I have for some time. And Garoppolo will be even more experienced. This is one of the hardest games on our schedule next year. And certainly not a game I would expect us to win. But you never know. That's why they play the games. The Browns, to me, is probably going to be a primetime game. Whether it's Thursday, Monday, Sunday, the storyline is just too juicy there. Odell Beckham coming back to New York. I got to think that's going to be on primetime. I'd be surprised if it's not. And I think that is one game where we will see there's been some bad blood between the organizations with what Baker Mayfield has said about Giants fans. Beckham, how he left off with the Giants. There's still a lot of Giants fans who love Odell Beckham, and that will be one game that I will really be looking forward to, and that could certainly be a primetime game. Then you got the Steelers. Again, it's hard to judge the Steelers right now. The Steelers, to me, overachieved this year with all the turnover on their roster. They went through 3 quarterbacks. Ben is still under contract, so I expect him to be back next year. And they'll still be a strong team. This is a game we could win, depending on what we do in the offseason. I don't think they're a powerhouse, but they still have a strong offensive line. They still have a strong defense. And they still got a solid weapon there in James Conner, with Big Ben throwing him the football if he is healthy. But yeah, of course, 2, cornerstone franchises going at it. Should be a fun game to watch. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tampa Bay Bucs. This will be the 3rd time in 3 years where we've played them. We've actually beaten them the last 2 times we've played. They've accounted for 2 of our last 9 wins. And it was actually Daniel Jones' debut game against the Tampa Bay Bucs. It was in Tampa. This will be in New York. The reason we're playing Tampa is because we finished 3rd in the division. Had we finished 4th, we would have been playing the Panthers, and the same could be said for the Chicago Bears. We'll get to them in a second. They're on the road, and it's the 3rd time in 3 years we're playing the Bears. And the reason we're playing the Bears is because we finished 3rd. Had we finished 4th, we would have been playing the Lions. In terms of the Panthers or the Bucs, I mean, it's about the same to me. Bruce Arians is a very good head coach. We don't know who the Panthers head coach is yet, and we don't know who their quarterback will be. So they're kind of going through a culture change there with Ron Rivera gone. Might be tough. Arians' second year, I really do think he's a really good head coach. And the Bucs played better this year than I thought they would. But we've beaten them the last 2 times we played. Certainly a winnable game and should be a fun one to watch. On the road, again, we'll skip the divisional opponents. We know what they are. We've got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Bears. And when you look at that, outside of that Bengals game, that road schedule is brutal. The Ravens are the Super Bowl favorites right now, and my God, could you imagine this defense right now trying to guard Lamar Jackson? That will not be pretty. Right now, it does not look to be a very pretty game, to a winnable game for us. The Bengals, of course, the worst team in football, so that's the one area where we get we catch a break there. That's a game we should win on the road, and I think it's actually a benefit to be playing them on the road. The storyline in that will probably be Joe Burrow. Obviously he's going to be the headliner at the quarterback position. A lot of Giants fans are going to be looking forward to seeing him probably in that game. The Rams, very good team. Seattle, probably the toughest place to play in football, if not one of the top 3 or 4 toughest places to play with that 12th man over there. That will be a very tough place to win. And the Chicago Bears still have a very strong defense. And Soldier Field is no picnic to play in either. And we've split the last 2 times we've played. The Bears might be winnable. We got to see what they do with that offense, what they do with Mitch Trubisky, but they still have a very strong defense. If we win 2 of those 5 on the road, you got to be happy there right now. The Bengals game is a must, and then we got to try to find a way to win at least 1 of those other 4. But those are really tough road games. They really are. It's not going to be an easy schedule. But like I said, it's not like the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Redskins play anything different. I mean, let's just look at the Eagles, for example. They play the same schedule, just instead of the Bears, they play who finished first in the North, so it's the Packers, and instead of the Bucs, they will be playing the Saints. So it's the same schedule, only they play 2 different teams, and the Saints are better than the Bucs, and you could certainly argue that the Packers are better than the Bears. And for the Cowboys, they'll play the second place schedule, so it's the same teams outside of those 2 divisions. And in second place team in the North is the who is it? You got the Panthers, in the North, rather. Yeah, it's the Vikings. So they'll be playing the Vikings instead of the Bears, and they'll be playing the second place finisher from the South, which has escaped me right now, on their schedule. So it's not, every team plays a very similar schedule. So yes, in terms of the wild card, it might be harder to get the wild card, but in terms of the division, I expect the winner of the East to get no more than 10 wins next year because it is a tough schedule. The NFC West is really tough, and the AFC North is no picnic either with the Ravens in that division, and the Steelers could certainly take a step up. And we all know if the Browns get a good head coach in there, they have some talent as well. But the games I'm really looking forward to the most, Odell Beckham's return, obviously the divisional games. Lamar Jackson will be fun to see him play the Giants. All those, Seattle. We got a lot of fun games on the schedule. It just so happens we play the Bucs and the Bears for the 3rd straight year. It just so happens that we finish the same spot in our divisions every year. That's the way it works out. But yeah, overall, I'm not going to lie. That's a pretty tough schedule. But it's tough for everybody, so no excuses, guys. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.